from the house.
All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the October 5th Litchfield Budget Committee meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order, and we'll start tonight with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Legs are tight.
All right, got a full house here tonight. And first on our agenda is any review or additions to tonight's agenda. Anybody have anything? Did make a couple of small changes to our order for tonight based on what was sent out, and just to respect the folks who are presenting tonight. We're going to move information technology down below town meeting and town clerk and accounting. Mr. Brunel offered to go last of all the folks that are here this evening. All right, with that, I'll open it up for public input. Any public input tonight? Seeing none, I will close public input. We will have another public input session towards the end of our meeting tonight. Next, we have correspondence. Quick correspondence, since we did meet last Thursday. Correspondence summary since last week on September 28th. Chairman Sun updated the committee on the budget presentation order and the most current library budget. Finance Director Karen White forwarded the 2022 Manchester fire hydrant rate schedule and FY23 Litchfield fire hydrant rate schedule. Conservation Commission Chair Jason Brennan shared the 2019 milfoil treatment quote for Dara Pond. On September 29th, Chairman Sun shared the October 5th meeting agenda and budget presentation order. On September 30th, Recording Secretary Matthew Sullivan forwarded the draft September 28th meeting minutes. And then on October 2nd, Town Administrator Kim Kleiner sent a memo to address many of the committee's questions from the September 28th meeting. The memo noted the Meals on Wheels and Home Health and Hospice Health Agency contribution requests were only for a portion of services provided that was not funded by federal, county, or insurance purposes. And there are also some agencies who have yet to respond. The police department chose to remove the additional part-time officer from the budget. The price of road salt decreased, resulting in additional budget savings. And the memo also included a chart of the 13 police vehicles with their age and mileage. That is a quick summary since we met last Thursday. Before we jump into business tonight, everyone had an opportunity to review our minutes from last week. Entertain a motion to approve.
Make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Burke. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Hayes. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, abstain. Motion carries 8-0-1. All right, jumping into town business tonight. So just to catch everyone up to speed for those that are watching tonight, last week we went through approximately half, maybe a little less, of the town budgets. This is the second part of our town budget review. The budget committee's had the budget for about a week now, had an opportunity to review it, ask questions, and tonight various department heads will be here presenting highlights from their budget request for this year, what has changed, what's gone up, what's gone down, and then an opportunity for members of the committee to ask any questions tonight. You can find the order on page 2 of our agenda, and we are going to start with 4311.10 road agent. Turn it over to Mr. Brown.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for having me again.
Thanks, sir.
I think we have a $230 reduction. The total, right? Yeah. In the road agent budget, and that's mostly just propane. Other than that, all the lines are staying the same.
Fairly straightforward and easy one to start out on tonight. Any questions on 431110 road agent? Good start, Kevin. I like it.
All right.
Next, we have 4312.10 road maintenance.
Basically, other than we don't know about the insurance yet, of course, working our way down. We have 2 increases, one in general supply, 3-year average, and the vehicle fuel. which also is showing higher, we're projecting higher. I didn't see the bullets. We removed the lease for the truck purchase, that, you know, the last payment would be made in October. So that's a $28,565 reduction. And then the rest of my lines are stagnant, they're the same. Where my salt bins are full and the salt prices went down, and I don't know how much salt we're gonna use, Carrie. Just throwing it out there.
How much did it go down, Kevin?
I went from 79.60 to 76.90.
So the biggest adjustment to this one was removing the payment on the vehicle, right?
Yeah.
90% of that
I'd
reduction.
love to keep that in and purchase another vehicle, but it's not how it works, so.
And that was one that the selectmen removed, is that correct?
They did. It would require, even to keep it in the budget, it would require a warrant article.
Additional questions on 4312.10 road maintenance?
In terms of the road, the road plan that's attached, that we cover, the annual road maintenance.
CIP.
And the paving.
We
Oh.
brought up CIP, yeah.
We talk about CIP, but in
Yeah.
the plan here for next year, it also has 20,000 for recycling way. Does that 20,000 come out?
We actually got a quote from Continental Paving to do recycling way and also the Public Works garage. So we're putting that for warrant, I suppose, and that would remove
It
that.
would remove it from this.
From the
plan.
CIP, but not, we don't have 20,000 in the budget for that.
Right, understood.
Additional questions?
I have a question about insurance, cause on not just, this one, but others, they're up and down. And I know that right now we don't have any numbers.
I can explain ours.
Okay.
So last year, we budgeted for an employee, and we budgeted the healthcare for him to take healthcare. So when he came on, he was on his parents' healthcare, so he did the buyout. So it reduced the amount of healthcare in that line.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions this evening?
I just wanted to know, and I want to apologize again because I missed the original tour that you guys
Everybody
had set
did,
up.
it's okay. Except for Andrew Cutter.
Thank you.
And that was, would you be open to next week, and we can work out details to, for me to come by and check out the
Anytime
buildings?
you want.
Okay.
You just name it and I'll be there.
And then if I had opened it up earlier to the committee, but I hadn't gotten a response.
If there's anything
Anybody else wants
particular you'd like to see that I got ready for you,
Okay.
email me, text me, whatever. Absolutely.
Thank
Our
you.
garage is always open. You guys can come by anytime you want.
I think
Okay.
if you find a date that works for Mr. Brown, then we can share it out with everybody and
Okay,
hopefully we can get some folks
Thank
to
you.
make it.
Yeah.
great, thank you. We'll be in touch.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Easy
Any
peasy.
questions?
You good?
All right.
Great.
Gentlemen, thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Go back to your vacation.
Yes, thank you.
Hurry.
Coming in.
Yeah, thank you. Next we have 4321 sanitation, Mr. Mellon. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
So this is another really easy budget to discuss, and Dave can speak more to any changes in the waste disposal and volume. But there's a few minor staff changes and standard incentive increases that are given. There is the diesel, which you've seen across all the other budgets. So we are forecasting an increase to the diesel rate. And I tried to put the links to that information in there. And then there's 2,968, which is an increase in the contracted services for disposal of waste, which is both, volume driven, so. Another budget that had very minor ups or downs.
That increase is a combination of 693 and 694, correct?
Correct.
Questions for sanitation?
Yeah, I have a question on,
recyclables. Which recyclables are we getting revenue? Which are cost neutral and which ones are cost us?
Revenue, right now, we receive revenue for scrap metal, including the tin cans, the aluminum steel cans. We receive revenue for the OCC, which is the old corrugated cardboard. And some electronics we receive revenue for, but we sort of leverage them against the ones that cost money to get rid of too. But as far as mixed paper is right now a -25, so it's not paying any money. Plastic is not paying anything at all.
Glass?
Glass, no, we've never made money on glass, ever. That goes out, that gets totally recycled. It gets put into road pavement.
All right, so plastic is being recycled?
Is not at this
Is not.
time. It is not.
So what happens when we separate and put the plastics into the bin?
That ends up going through waste management.
And is it incinerated or landfill?
Yeah, it's incinerated.
You figure that's the most responsible way?
I absolutely do,
Okay.
because I've followed a trail of the plastics years past, and they would recycle part of it and throw the rest away, and I didn't know, a lot of it was being shipped to China at the time.
Right. All right, so
So it is the best option right now.
so does the homeowner separate plastics or just throw it into?
We're at the point where we don't wanna discourage them in case there's a change in the market,
Good point.
and then
Rate the
we have to
behavior.
retrain.
It takes a long time to change.
It does, it took a long time to get where we are now, but
Besides, the homeowner can have the feeling that they did their part, even if once it left their hands.
yeah.
That's what I say. I did my part.
And I think it's one of those feel-good things too.
Yep.
Especially with the plastic, with the, you've seen what it's done to the oceans and in the waterways and in the world.
Yeah, to me, it would be easier to scoop up plastics and incinerate plastics as opposed to trying to separate it out of trash anyway.
Yes, and it's a great fuel because it's a petroleum product, so it does help to burn the waste too. So it's actually turned into energy. It's not thrown in a landfill. I
Yeah,
will
I
not throw it in a
think-
landfill.
I think that's a
So
great
it's turned
story.
into energy.
Very good, thank you.
So state does not consider that recycling, but I do.
Yeah.
Additional questions this evening?
Not currently.
Great job as always.
No, thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
You're
I have
you're
the
more than welcome.
same question
Thanks,
for
Dave.
you, if you're open to it sometime next week, if you wouldn't mind if I could stop by just during open hours, or what would, something could help?
Yeah. There's a lot involved in getting ready, but yeah.
Okay. Whatever's easier for you.
Yeah, we'll figure something out.
Okay,
Sure.
thank you.
I'll talk it over with the town administrator and figure out
Yeah.
this, because we sort of kind of, I think Mr. Cutter was there last time, we sort of, lay out the whole scope of what we do there, so you can see from the beginning.
I watched the video, there was a lot involved in so.
There was a lot involved, and it takes extra hours to put that together and get the place prepared for that
Yep.
type
Okay.
of showing.
Okay,
I just don't wanna
I can rely
I just
on
don't
the
want you to
video
come
if
in
that's easier.
and see,
Yeah.
us in the middle of us in the middle of a cycle, and,
Mm-hmm.
the place sort of a mess. If anyone's been down there on a Saturday, they know. So,
You keep that
yeah.
immaculate. It's immaculate facility.
Well, thank you.
Great.
I appreciate that.
I can rely on the video, if that's easier for you.
That would be great.
Sure.
It really is a
I
lot.
don't wanna
It
create
really
more
is a
work
lot of work. If you watch the video, you'll see that.
It was very detailed.
All right,
Yeah,
thank
it
you.
is very detailed, and it'll give you, and if you have any questions, you can come down personally, any budget member or selectman. I'm more than happy to answer anything in my office, one-on-one, at any time, about anything about my operations. The only thing I won't answer is about anyone else's operations, so it's only mine.
All right, thank you so much.
Hey, you're welcome.
Thank you, Dave, appreciate
Okay,
it.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next we have 45-2010 Parks and Rec, Mr. Ames. 45, let me find it real quick, sorry, 45-20. All right, good evening.
Good evening. I'm Peter Ames. I'm the chair of the Recreation Commission. Thank you for the opportunity to come in and speak with you all tonight.
Absolutely.
So I want to call a couple things here for our budget request for this year and really share what the story is and how we drafted our budget. I know our primary interests are keeping the facilities safe and open, but we do not have requests to really make improvements upon those facilities. The biggest increase you'll see here is regarding building maintenance and repairs. And that is an increase from the budget that was approved last year, but level funded from what was added at deliberative. Those funds are designed to protect us from what we anticipate are things that happen at Talent Hall. Talent, at this point doesn't owe us much. It's served the town a long time, but it's kind of hanging out there as, at any given moment something significant could go wrong at Talent. And it gets a ton of use. From December through April, I believe it's booked every day. Start off with like basketball, pickleball leagues, but then the spring sports come in there early. So it gets a lot of use and it's a big value to town, but we know that it's got some challenges that could bubble up at any time around. We've had issues with the HVAC in the last couple of years. Plumbing's an issue. It does not have a kitchen facility to it anymore. So there's different things that we know could crop up at any time, and we just want to have enough in there to be able to address those, not to necessarily make improvements, but to keep it open. So that's really our primary interest, particularly with Talent. The field maintenance contract, that is by far the biggest piece in our budget request. It's got a slight increase from last year as we've added in a bit more turf to be managed now with the addition of the pickleball courts, but very happy with the vendor and the price point. Those fields are in great shape. We're thrilled with where they are. They also get a ton of use, and that's been increasing in the last couple of years. So we're very happy with those, but particularly with fields, you never want to slide back on that because if they deteriorate a little bit, it can take years to get that back to a quality place. So the field maintenance is our top priority of anything else in the budget to keep that open for the rec leagues, youth rec leagues in particular, as well as it's available for school as well. Some other things of note, some increases to costs around trash services, and that's something that is based on volume, and as we've been getting more use of our facilities, that we've seen that increase. A new chemical toilet at the pickleball courts, as they're getting a lot of use there as well. I think those are the top things I wanted to address. Really, the other increases are, again, just to kind of give us a little bit of flexibility to address things as they potentially come up. I do want to note a couple things. First, I wanted to thank Kim and Karen for all their help to me in this process. So as I'm sure you all have appreciated as well. They've just been great coaches through this, so thank you to you both. One thing that you do not see in here, but is definitely worth mentioning, is the value of the contributions of the rec leagues and the volunteers in town who help out with things. The rec leagues provide either in-kind or direct donations or pay for directly some of the improvements on the fields. They help keep them in good shape, as well as volunteers in town and help with incidental repairs in town. We've had issues with playground slide, that type of thing. Folks would just volunteer their time or more to make those repairs. The other thing I did want to speak to is just looking at some of our requests to CIP. Very much reflect what I'm saying here is like, we know we've got some big things hanging out there that may be a major issue for the rec facilities at some point with Talent Hall. That's probably a bridge the town will have to wrestle with at some point. If something major did happen at Talent and it was an issue of closing the facility, do we put money into that building still, or do we want to call the question of, do we want a more significant facility that could have more diverse use and perhaps be valuable to a wider swath of town residents if it was like more of a community center? So we know it's got significant use right now. Certainly that type of facility could have broader interest to folks in town, but obviously would be a major investment that we'd have to have a conversation with the town taxpayers on. The other things that are on our radar are around our pond itself. That one, as folks who've been down there recently, it's been deteriorating over the last couple of years as far as its swim quality. It was at one time a swimmable body, still is swimmable, but may not be your greatest experience. A lot of milfoil and some other sanitation issues that make it less attractive. That is something that could be dealt with at some point to bring it back to a place where it is swimmable, get fresh sand down there, and make it an attractive water body. But that would be a pretty significant outlay to make that happen, and then you'd kind of be signing up for, years of ongoing maintenance to keep it there, after you make that investment. So, again, in this year's budget, no major requests for capital improvements, really just maintenance to keep things, as they are, safe and open and accessible to folks in town.
Great. Real quick, before we open it up for questions, just the slides show an increase of about 14K. When I look at the spreadsheet, it looks like a decrease of $2,187. So I just wanted to make sure
Which one's which?
everything, what you're seeing and what we're seeing lines up.
I think one of the things you said at the beginning, you said maintenance you kept flat, correct? With the monies that were given last year with deliberative? Because right now you show an $8,000 decrease.
Right, so.
Yep. Yeah, that was added at deliberative, the $8,000.
Right, but,
Right,
But it's
So
not,
it wasn't in the approved budget.
correct.
From
Wait,
last
but
year.
what-
Correct.
up there is 13,951.
The budget that we approved, that was not in there, and it got put back in at deliberative, so it's added to the budget, but it wasn't in our approved budget.
But it's not added in-
last
it's
year,
not
it
added
should
in
be
this year.
year's.
Right.
So the increase, that, like he said, doesn't match what's on the screen in
I
front
see.
of me.
Yeah.
So did you not carry
decrease.
that forward then? Did the Board of Selectmen not recommend that additional 8,000 in this year's budget? Because that could be.
I do
You
see.
got that on line 430.
Right,
Yeah, I see that. Right. So the 2023 was 12.5,
right.
which was what was added at
Right.
deliberative, and so it's
Right.
down 8,000 at 45.
Right.
Which
Right.
that math makes sense to me, but still,
But that doesn't make
it still
sense.
doesn't add up to the
14.
increase of about 14K. If I pull that back, that would still be.
well, you don't need to pull it back because it's in the budget right now that we have.
Not the one I have. My paper and what's on here does not have their 14,000 increase.
No, it doesn't. I'm just
Oh, so you're saying we don't have to pull it back? Sure, but I'd at least like to know where the difference is. Trash container
Did the
service.
selectmen make any changes to this
We
budget?
did not, they did not.
No changes here.
Maybe something didn't get saved.
Yeah, because it looks like. Yeah, was there something that was added to be increased for field maintenance or something else that wasn't captured?
So there is, looking at
Equipment.
line 430.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So, the Recreation Commission's adding the 8,000 back to that 4,500.
Okay.
So that it was not in here and did not go to the selectmen. It will need to be approved by the selectmen. We'll put it on your agenda for Wednesday
Didn't cover the difference though?
and then make the change to the budget.
So the
Stop
8
it.
that was added at deliberative
Right,
was
16,
to
yeah.
handle talent repair.
16,000
It was a
dollars.
particular project.
And added to
Projects
that
around, I
9
believe, the
negative
bathroom.
plus.
If it's level funded to the deliberative level,
I think you get rid of
what
the
is that
negative.
additional 8,000
Double.
that is in this year's
Then we do
budget?
this,
What
20,000.
project at talent
Yeah,
is
but
that
there's
for
this
then?
difference.
So it was not for a
It's actually
specific
65.
project. It was to get us to a level that we felt we'd be able to have the flexibility to address things that came up. Talent was our primary
Not just
concern.
zeroed, you
We were also putting in like a well this year, our
Yeah, so-
field maintenance, put that in, so we thought we might have to change out heads with the new pressure.
Which is pretty
So it was really to hedge against what we anticipated being additional costs, so.
And then as far as talent is concerned, when's the end of life on that floor? I know,
Great
Andy
question.
many years ago said that it was resurfaced for the last time and it can't be resurfaced again.
Yes, you have
When
your
does that floor go dead?
Yeah, you got your history right. I mean, it's a matter of opinion at this point, because it does not have another opportunity to be really resurfaced. It would need to be ripped up and put down again. That is one of the things we considered in the CIP request, that if we stay with talent, that would be a priority, because right now it's just kind of polishing and cleaning it. Could not take off another layer at this point. As it is, it's already got kind of,
Dead spots.
some character to it.
So,
Yeah.
so I guess that's my question, is at what point does it have too much character and it now becomes a hazard to those that use it, and then you have to say, new floor or shut it down?
Yeah, I couldn't give you a real strong answer on that, because it's not a safety issue right now. As far as like a tripping hazard, it certainly has dead spots and may be annoying to folks that are playing on it, but it's still solid as far as safety. Good question, though. I don't have a clear answer on that for you.
think we did figure out the math on this, Carrie. So when you take out the -8 and you add in the +8, that's 16,000 against the -2187 that's showing there, which gets the right almost to the increase that we're showing there on the screen. So yeah.
Does basketball still use talent?
Yes.
Has there been any, because I know LMS also needs a new floor, is there any opportunity to combine, services for some sort of discount? Or is it totally different animals?
They're talking, I think the CIP mentioned there were two different materials, so it was two different types of expertise necessary, because it did get discussed earlier this week.
Oh, it did? Okay.
Yes,
Trying to
yes.
see if we can get.
And the
yeah,
CIP may have wanted to push it up, but we'll see what the Board of Selectmen say with their recommendation. Because ultimately, it's the Board of Selectmen's decision as to when the warrant article comes forward, unless you're willing to get 25 signatures and do an advisory, which I'm sure, given the state and usage, perhaps you could do. But that's where it stands right.
Other questions for Parks and Rec tonight?
A question on electricity line 410. The 2023 approved budget for this line was 8,000. I noticed that the 2024 department proposed was 6,200, which is still an increase over at least 2022 actual. But then it looks like the selectmen made an adjustment and increased that by $1,000. Just curious, if the department asked for 6,200, why are we increasing it to 7,200?
Oh, yeah, okay, thank you, yeah. That goes back to the addition of the well that I was mentioning earlier. So we now have a well that was put in, which will be savings on the waterfront, potentially for the fields at some point, but costs, electricity to run, and it's the Roy Memorial Field.
But we had a well there before, right?
No.
I thought we did, it was
Had a well-
Stanfield.
Had
There
a well
was a
to
pump.
pump the irrigations there.
There's
We
a-
absolutely did.
There was an irrigation pump, I thought the concern was it was filled with sand and kept burning out or something.
Right, but
Right, but it was there.
For
The-
electricity, right?
Right, exactly,
We had a
agreed.
well there, and we
Yes.
replaced it with a well. I'm not,
Which is much deeper. So much deeper, more pump. And this pump, speaking with Mr. Lane, draws more energy. So we did an estimate of what it will be. We saw the energy level jump, in August. We went back, we did a conservative estimate on what he expects to see in an increase in electricity next year, when they run it. But because of the draw and how far down, it's additional electric cost to run this versus that one.
thank you.
Thank you. Additional questions on Parks and Rec tonight?
Yeah, I just wondering if you can tell me, like, of the $90,000 budgeted for next year for field maintenance, how much of that is for field maintenance, and then how much of that is set aside for repairs? Because you list fence, drainage, turf damage, repair irrigation system, bark mulch. I'm just wondering, like, how much is for the contract for the lawn care, and then how much is left over for other uses?
So you're looking at two lines, right? The repairs as one line?
No, I'm
versus what's not
I'm
in-
just asking about field maintenance.
Just field maintenance?
Because underneath field maintenance is those items listed.
Yeah, I would have to pull a contract to see exactly what's in there. Anything that is repairs is generally something that would be outside of the maintenance contract, as far as damage to heads or.
So the field maintenance cost for next year is gonna be $90,000 just for lawn care?
It's lawn care, it's just treating the lawns of all the fields, all the mowing is the big thing. There are some areas that are being mowed that are not maintained as far as turf fields, so like around the perimeters and parking lot areas, so those are covered as well. Soil testing, that's all included, so they will go and add in additives as needed, which is for not an additional cost. If they thought something was exceptional, then they would come to us for a request, but keeping things on balance is included in this figure.
So those items don't really belong under that field maintenance line then, you're saying?
Probably move up to 630, right? Some of them, like turf damage and repair irrigation system. Is that what you're saying, Brian?
Yeah, because it sounds like in field maintenance, those items are covered. So, I mean, can we get the contract, copy of the contract?
That's what I was gonna ask. Can we
Yeah.
link it? Yeah, link it in here on that line item.
But I was just wondering if, of that $90,000, is there monies left over for some repairs?
They've been great to us as far as doing minor repairs and incidentals. It's something, if it's something was more significant, that they would.
Repairs to the lawn.
To the lawn.
Right.
Oh,
I'm talking about other areas, so maybe these items don't belong here.
I see what you're saying, okay.
Right now, it looks like field maintenance is already overspent for the year. Like $1,800.
Based off
Is
of,
that, yeah, but is that the nature of the contract, though, that, you know, they get paid based on how many visits, and they're not gonna do any visits in November and December?
That is true.
Okay.
Yeah.
So an overspend at this point would be expected because the dormant months haven't hit yet.
Yeah, as we're coming to the last quarter, we also, there were two things where we asked more of them. Again, adding the pickleball courts, we're adding that on. And there was some tournaments this summer. You probably saw that there was temporary fencing put up that required them to use a lot more staff time to go around all the fences versus, you know, like when you mow your lawn at home, right? The kids leave something in the middle of your yard, it's 2 extra hours to go around it all, so.
It's not.
Yeah.
So, you just said that each time they mow, it's an additional cost.
No, let me be clear then. So there is a.
I was saying a draw, they get a draw probably every single time they mow.
Yeah,
Right.
it has a, right, they have an allocated number of estimated hours, for the tournament. It required a significant more amount of hours, which they discounted us on, but, we agreed to pay for because it was, most of the summer, those fences were up.
You gotta jack up those tournament fees.
What tournament?
No different than like an AAU place that you go to and they,
You keep mentioning the pickleball and landscape.
Yeah.
Those are hard surface. I don't understand.
Yeah,
why- They're not mowing them.
Yeah, it's the, around the pickleball courts, the grass that was put down around there, just to mow that down. So that's been done mostly by volunteers up until this point, but we're gonna add that in, going forward, because it's not covered anywhere else.
So if they're mowing twice a week right now, it's costing us twice as much whatever it costs to mow.
I'm not sure I'm clear.
Well, they're mowing twice a week.
For the, I mean, in the fields? So that's on schedule. That's what they plan for. If it's like, if grass is growing a lot, they will do additional to keep it where it needs to be. So, if it's more than what they expect, just because of normal grass, growing, they do not come to us for that. It was the tournament that was, I mean, it's like 6 or 7 weeks that those fences were up. And, you know, that was not expected when we drafted the original contract hours for them, yeah. But it's not costing us twice as much as far as, if they mow twice a week.
Yeah, if we can get a copy of the contract, that'd be great.
You bet.
any other questions for Peter this evening?
No, I mean, our fields are in great shape, right? The vendor does a fantastic job maintaining those fields.
Yep, yeah, we're pleased as well. And we've been with them for a little bit now, and, you know, they had to bring some sections back, which that did incur a cost up front, right, for special treatment, and it takes time. It takes
Yep.
time, so,
He was also the best price of all the people that we got the estimates from.
that's right, yep, we're very happy with the price point.
He beat by over $10,000, I believe. He was lower than the closest one.
That's correct.
And the fences were donated by a softball group called Fusion that used the field for the tournaments. And they're expensive fences, so now Litchfield has fences, and you can host your own tournaments.
Yeah, I mean,
Big
those
cost
are,
outlay you don't have to do.
As long as we factor in mowing, apparently, we let them the fences.
Mow before they go in.
All right, last call, Parks and Rec.
Great job.
All right, thank you, Mr. Ames.
thank you all, appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, we're gonna move information technology down a bit, and we'll go to 4130.30 town meeting.
Thank you for
Thank you, Peter. 4130.30 town meeting. Joint effort tonight. Good evening.
Hello, how's it going?
How are you?
Very good. You?
Great.
Hey, guys.
I don't have to be here for hours on end like you guys, so.
You're doing great then.
No need to rub it in.
Sorry.
Dude, enjoy every moment. Every moment.
All right.
You sign up to do this.
I literally enjoy every moment.
Even at 10 o'clock at night?
You missed the early years when it was twice a week till 11.
Sounds like it's more efficient now.
Sure.
bit.
But like, when you enjoy
Brian
every
keeps us
moment.
on time.
How's it going?
Not even early.
Over to you.
Good. Want me to go over the highlights? How do you want to do this?
Yeah, just hit the high points and then we'll hit some questions.
So the high points are the elections this year of 1, next year is 4. So that's the biggest jump. That's basically everything there. The increased postage is for the same thing, because we're gonna have a primary and a presidential. That's when we see them at the highest numbers, so
We won't have 2,400 this time.
let's
So-
hope not.
We hope.
So why do we not do similar to the way that we handle assessments? Like, we know for sure that every 4 years, we're gonna have 4 elections. So to avoid the yo-yo effect, why don't we do the same thing that we do for assessments?
Like expendable trust.
Yes.
I actually mentioned that when we were at the selectmen, and because they were saying the same thing, well, it's the year that we have 4 elections. The only way around it is to do that.
Right.
It just hasn't been done.
Okay. There's nothing stopping it, there's nobody's
is-
done it yet?
This is only my second year doing this part,
Yep.
so, it's just a matter of the selectmen wanting to do it.
Bob, is there a reason why the selectmen wouldn't wanna do it?
I can't think of one.
Okay.
Unless it's because they wanna drop from, 27,000, or whatever the number is now, 21,000, down to 7 or
Right.
14. Other than that, yeah.
And the decrease was we took out the machines, correct? The new ballot
Yeah,
machines?
there's a little speculation that the machines wouldn't be here in time, but primarily, we still need them. Hopefully, the selectmen will at least, use some end of the year funds, if not anything else, to get one, or at least have the money aside for one.
Okay.
So as soon as they're available, we can have it.
The state doesn't think that they're gonna get everybody up and running on the new machines before the elections start. So, because you gotta do the training and the whole thing on the new machines. So I think we're gonna end up going through 2024 with the machines that we have, and then they'll move forward. They've narrowed it down from 4 machines to 2.
So is it gonna be like an after Christmas sale, like after a major election, we get a discount?
December
2 for 1.
Well, yeah, like we no longer get, they're a post-presidential machine sale.
Or save
Well, if it's to be a plus side, they're only $6,000 a piece, not 7.
Right,
My number 2.
Originally, they were expected to be 7, so I mean,
right.
Alright, so I heard there's 4, there's
it's 2
2,
machines.
there's 2 machines.
Two machines would be,
$6,000 each.
But they
That
last
we
a
have
long-
that are functional
we
today.
have 2 machines, yes.
Right, okay. So,
We
2
would-
now, but the state is gonna make us stop using those, when the new ones come in. They won't let us use those anymore.
But the
They're
expectation
not gonna support them.
is that they will last a while.
The machines that we have now are from
Right.
1984, and they still work.
Technically work, but.
So,
And they do,
You need
they
some
don't
love.
they don't like folds, but they
So, I mean,
do,
it's
they
a-
work.
It's a painful investment, but it should be the last one we have to make for a while.
but I think that's a good point too. Like, we're not buying these because we want to. We're buying them because we have to. The ones that we have will no longer be supported.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
They'll probably be supported in 25, but that might be the end. That'd be the projection, right?
Yeah, I thought they said 2024. After 2024, they were not gonna support them anymore. So that's why it was brought up that, and I think, Kim, you had sent me something on the board, writing a letter to the state, cause it's to see if they'll fund them.
Is they're requiring, like an
If they're re-
unfunded mandate kind of thing?
Correct. So we're kinda working on that. There
Appreciate
are-
it.
There are other
Appreciate
avenues
it.
too, so we'll see where that goes,
Well, we knew where it's going, but I appreciate the legwork.
right?
Questions?
yeah, so if the if the machines are good until 2024, could we not buy the machines for 2024 because there's 4 elections, and then in very early 2025, buy the new machines for the town? I assume the town meeting would be the one and only 2025 election. Could we do it that way, so that way we're almost leveling things out by don't invest in the machines when you got 4 elections, invest in the machines when you have 1 election, and then figure out how to get this leveled?
I mean, that's a good plan,
Okay.
but, I mean, they're already backed out of this year, so that would be a sensible plan, if there isn't money left at the end of the year to do it. Because that way there, it's pain-free.
Right. 'Cause we have
That's just
this.
my
Except for the
Just my opinion.
except for the group that you bump just ahead and grab the last bit of end of year money, and then the next one is like, I
Well,
get
it really is a small amount, I mean, in the grand scheme of millions of dollars.
If we can use the machines for the, for the 2025, that one March election that we have, then, I mean, I'm sure that if the state says, yeah, you can still use them, then we should definitely use them. Cause like you're saying, we have a high number for 2024, 2025, it's gonna drop there. It's not gonna drop as much if we have to use some of those funds to buy the 2 machines.
Right.
So if we can use it, then we'll definitely use those machines, cause like I said, they still work, they don't like folds. And the biggest thing was, when we had the last presidential, we had COVID at the same time, so we had 2,400 folds, and they were not fun.
A couple wet ballots, I believe, right?
They were not.
And then there were some wet ballots, cause you had to have people outside and people inside, and so.
Machines didn't like,
People that mark more than one circle.
well, surprisingly, the electronics didn't care for moisture.
So the new machines will, we went to up to the State House, and we saw all the machines that they had to offer. The machines now they're more sophisticated. They will take the ballot with a fold. There's certain things that are different with, where the fold is, and they're optical now. They're not, like, these are from 1980s, so they're old machines. The machine will kick out something that has two different, like if somebody votes for 2 people when it says vote for 1, it will kick the ballot back out, and it will tell you to talk to the moderator. And the moderator will hand the ballot back and say you voted for 2, what do you want to do? If they want to keep it that way, then there's a special box that it goes into so that can get counted. So the machine, like write-ins, I don't know, you've done, we've had to sit there at night counting all the write-ins. These new machines will actually print a report with all the names of all the write-ins. So you don't have to sit there and count them all. You do have to go through to match them up.
Mm-hmm.
The state says, yes, you still match them up, but again, it goes into a different box. These boxes are twice the size of the box that we have now. So I'm like, how am I gonna move this thing from the 2 boxes from one place to another? We don't even need the box to do testing. We only need them for the elections. So they're much better machines. Like I said, they had 4 different ones. 2 of them got kicked out. The 2 that they have, one of them is a company that we use now, and the other one is a company out of Minnesota, which they have no one here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not very comfortable with having no support staff
Makes sense.
here. The one that we have now is right out of Salem. And anytime we had issues, and we've had issues, they come right down and they bring us a new machine, or
That's awesome.
so it's the same company.
Additional questions on town meeting?
I will actually point out that we're increasing the wages as well for the ballot clerks, just so that this doesn't come up as a question later on and you say we didn't say it. $9.55 an hour is unreasonable to ask people to come. We've lost a lot of the folks that have done it for years over end, and we can't get people at that rate.
You moved it
So-
to 15.
We asked for 15 because we wanna try to make it, I mean, at a 12 to 16 hour day, that's halfway decent pay for somebody to step in, but. So if any of you are looking for any part-time work.
It's not part-time flexible hours, it's part-time work.
Any final questions on town meeting? All right.
I just had one more question. If you did purchase the ballot machines, like say January 2025, is that enough time to be fully ready for town meeting? Like training, like they're working okay?
We've gotta see what the company does too, if they can get everyone trained in that time. The machines are a lot like the ones that we have, they're just updated.
Okay.
So I don't see an issue with it,
Probably more about delivery.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Have fun.
That's it for town meeting.
You don't wanna stay?
Thank you,
guys.
Ferris. Thank you.
Everyone, have a good night.
All right, next we have 4140.10 town clerk.
The increases on these are, the increased deputies overtime for coverage of elections. So we put in, I think, 5 hours for each election. Right now, what I do is I have her come in later. She comes in, instead of coming in at 8 o'clock, she comes in around 10. She comes here, does the stuff that needs to be done here, and then she'll come over to the school and work the election. So I tried to switch it a little bit so that there's not as much overtime, but there's still some overtime. The postage rate went up 6 cents last year, so we have our stuff that we mail to the state. We went from, a few years ago, we went from mailing it daily to mailing it weekly, so that kind of saves, but it's still, postage went up. The increase in the workshop and conferences, and then the increase in the dog tags. We have a lot more dogs. We ran out of tags this year because we have so many more dogs.
That's offset in part by the fee.
Yes, it is. So we get the, we also pay the state.
Mm-hmm.
So we get a portion of that, the
Right.
state gets a portion of that. But it is offset by what they pay.
So you get a pretty good deduction on printer cartridges.
Yes, we did. We went, last year, when we went to the conference, there was a printing company there, and we talked directly with them, and he gave us a huge discount, and we've been holding him to it, so.
Awesome. Good. Questions on town clerk?
How many dogs are there in town?
We're up to 2,050 dogs.
In other words,
There's a lot of dogs.
we have more dogs than people vote.
We
That's why I'm thinking about these machines, they're not gonna get much use, so.
That is a really sad statement.
sad statement, Scott, but true.
It's true, but sad.
So
Well,
what
and
you're
it's
saying
funny
is-
We
because a
got a
lot of
dog
people,
vote.
if they are, a lot of people, if they have a vet in Massachusetts, we don't know that they have a dog. The state of New Hampshire, the vet is required by law to send the updated rabies to us whenever they get updated. So what we've been doing now also is we go through the list, and if someone's rabies is about to expire, because we don't mail anything out, we'll call them and say, hey, just to let you know,
I
your
like those
rabies is
reminder calls.
expiring.
They're
Don't you
helpful.
like that?
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, I've gotten a couple of those, so they're
Yep.
helpful. Any additional questions for town clerk? All right.
Sounds like we need to invite people to bring their dogs to the town meeting.
right?
Have like dog park out front.
Yeah, I think we're gonna do something new with some kind of a contest or something with dogs.
Some sort of incentive, like the
Some sort
dogs
of-
can vote on what sort of
Yeah.
tag they want the next year.
Pick a special, oh no, we don't pick on tags.
Let's do.
You picked the wrong tag and
Oh,
you're gonna
yes, you
hear
do.
it.
I remember that year where there was,
For sharp ones. or
she's
something.
like, I'm not quite sure, there was a shape that was very unpopular, and she heard about it.
It was gonna kill their dog.
I think it was the pig, yes.
It was the pig and it was sharp and it was gonna,
Razor blade.
it was going to
The
cut their
dog.
dog's neck or something.
All right, and if nothing else on town clerk,
Small town.
I had accounting next. Are you have accounting, right? No, you don't have accounting. but you do
No,
have
it's a-
tax
yeah,
collector.
tax collectors, yeah.
4150.40. Should have had this one up there underneath. My apologies. 4150.40 tax.
Everybody's favorite. Basically the same thing.
Does the town clerk?
Yep,
So the increases, mirror.
exactly.
Questions on 4150.40? Thank you, Terry.
Thank you.
All right, so we'll jump back to Mr. Brunel being the last one here tonight. We'll jump back to 4150.20 information technology.
Like the motion, please.
Turn it over to John.
Good evening. So, a small increase unfortunately, but it is an increase, in wages. That's in my employment contract, it's $1.50 a day. That's the increase. The telephone and data increases are driven by the usage, and that's pretty much what the run rate is right now over what we currently have budgeted. In 342, which is the software support, that's a result of several increases across multiple lines, so a lot of small little increases. But one of the main drivers was we had to retire our old backup environment, and we had to purchase a new backup software. So that was what really the increase was. In the following line 630, which is equipment maintenance, this is the largest increase we have, and it's driven by the a 5-year agreement we had on it when we refreshed the whole town network. That 5 years is up, and so now we have to pay for support and services going forward. The life expectancy of the actual hardware is probably another 5 years on top of that. So we're going to a 1 year, year over year, just because I can't afford a $60,000 price tag to do it for 5 years again. That's where the big increase in there. That's the biggest increase. And 741, which it says equipment leases, is actually usage. It's our quarterly charges for our printers, the big copy printers that every department has and uses. So that's just based on run rate.
So I'm sorry, when you go back to the Cisco Systems one, the one that looks like the big jump one, is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah.
So that's gonna be a $15,000 increase every year in the budget, or?
It'll be a $15,000 bill every year, yes. Yep.
When are you thinking about refreshing the equipment on that, John?
Probably
Yeah,
not.
the bottom line, the reason why I'm asking,
Yeah.
is it time to start taking a look at open Wi-Fi solutions that have been vetted out and are actually viable options? Because Cisco Meraki is gonna kill you on that line item. They're brutal when it comes to license and maintenance is the biggest cost with them, and they will soak you dry until you come up with another solution. I get that it's a good solution, but from a municipal budget,
the replacement cost, whether it's open source, whatever, it's gonna be, I think it cost me $60,000 to do everything last time. I'm expected to get another 5 years out of what we currently have today.
Okay, so you're still looking for
Yeah,
more
I'm
years.
that hard.
Okay.
That hard will stay running for quite a long time. I don't expect to see any needs to replace it, and this just continues the service and maintenance for it. It would have been able, if we could have, negotiated the 5 year. We could have drove that 5 year number down. We can't afford a 5 year contract change. So, and we've already had some of the other equipment you're talking about, and was nothing but more problems than what it was worth. Yes, it's changed over the years, obviously, but
Yeah, like in the last 12 months, it's actually like commercially viable now.
So that's it.
Questions for IT?
I do have a question, but it's not really pertaining to your budget. How difficult would it be and how expensive would it be to put another one of those on that wall?
You know what? Probably the money that we save by turning off the gazebo light might be able to put that on.
Oh.
I mean, this is the setup for all the different boards.
Yeah,
and-
so cable, from the cable side, which is obviously doesn't get shown in the budget, we've been talking about revetting this room up a bit. The idea has been taking that monitor and another monitor, putting it further back so they come out like this. Right, they can
Swivel
fold
this
back
way,
out, In addition, there was some discussion about putting
put
a
it over
presentation monitor down below where you can see it there also.
Oh.
It was really trying to prepare for more virtual meetings again if we had to do it. That would allow us to have the, the presentation there and have the people on the screens, right? Problem with this building is there's no ceiling. There's no place to hide wires, there's no place to tuck wires in. And a lot of the stuff we talk about here would require us to core the floor, which means ripping the rug up and coring and replacing the rug. That's a lot
Put
more
where the
expensive.
picture is?
That was a discussion too. Someone, the comment was it was probably too far to see presentations.
I have glasses, I can see.
You're young, Carrie.
Oh, no. You should see my prescription. No,
Well,
no.
you should see mine too, and I know I won't be able to see it. But it, like again, if we do it on the wall here, we can tuck it against the floor and get it up in there. So we do have some options. That's why we talked about putting it. We talked about suspending it across it and bringing one up high, but that would require us to put
Paintable wire mold, run it along the soffit, boom.
It can all go in the soffit, and then we
Done.
just tuck it under.
Perfect, problem solved.
So that was, again, that's been discussed, but this broadcast area has to get all cleaned up first. We have to get through all that, but, yeah.
John, question on.
So possible, it could be it.
Yeah, yeah. It's called time and time, it's actually time, it's not money, it's time.
I know you reduced the 2,000 at the selectmen's
Yep.
meeting. That's that public safety communication maintenance contract, right? Is that what
Correct.
that is reflected in?
Right, so, when I originally proposed it, this budget year, it was 10,000, we reduced it to 8. It's been working out fine so far. I do a fair amount of my own work, so I don't have to really bring anybody in. So I feel eight's comfortable, that's why I took it out. It's also important to note that the contract was actually 20, and we got it down to 10, and then we moved it to 8, and then so on and so forth, but, yeah.
Additional questions for John this evening?
Go ahead, Carrie.
No, just like fire hydrants are his issue, this one's mine, it's a small, it's a 10% increase, it's still painful.
It's actually 12.
Yeah, I was being generous here, I was being
It's actually
generous.
It's actually 12.3 to be
Rounding
completely
down.
honest.
I was rounding to your benefit here, I was actually, so just, I don't know. it's
I do
driving me
think, I think it's worth saying, I've said this to other folks in town before, like, I know other folks at the table here are involved in IT. I think the service that you provide to the town for the cost of the contract is really valuable. And I think if we had to outsource that and hire a full-time IT person, that 110 line would quadruple, if not more. So that's appreciated.
We thank you for your service.
I enjoy doing it, so. And yes, I do.
Huh? Every
John,
moment, right? Every moment.
I can't remember, the communication tower.
Yes, sir.
Seems like you're the one that is involved with it. Where is that one in the budget, and how close are we to finishing up that initial lease?
Oh, the initial lease,
That's really all I care
Would
about,
know
is when,
that.
when does that,
think it's
when does
one-
that lease get off the books?
yeah, I think this is the last, this is the, I
Gotta be
think
close,
I think this is the last payment, I believe.
Okay, so this coming budget is the last time we'll see it?
Yeah, it's in general, it's under general government.
General, okay.
So it is payment 4 of 5 years, 2025.
Yeah, the lease documents in there.
Yeah, so it was, 2 more years, this year,
Yeah.
the coming budget year, and the
Right.
following year.
One more
You
budget.
guys got my hopes up.
More budget, Scott.
I lost track of it, I take care of everything else, so.
You know, before we had a school, so that way we've got, 4 commitments that we're trying to pay off all at once.
Yeah. I think it's, with regards to the communications, just as a note, the school is on our system now too, and it's improved all their communications also. So the town is benefiting from it overall, so.
What do you mean as far as it's assisting as far as school communication? As
So-
far as, like, police and fire,
Police and
better
fi- yeah, so
communication after
police-
school?
Police and fire have benefited because we put some school actually, got some grants for in-house stuff to help us improve our communication, even with the communications tower. But we also brought up a system for DPW to get them off their old style radios. We're able to load share that with the school, so the school now has communications across all the schools using a portable radio. So they've been leveraging that, and they've been investing in the subscribers of the radios for their side out of their budget, obviously. So again, it's been a good system for the whole town overall. And
Even CHS, like CHS had Zenzone for everything.
No,
They
they're
have-
still dead.
No, it's for their benefit, for everybody. Any cell
I think since
signal
that tower
dies
went up-
immediately.
Since that tower went up, all of down Albuquerque, you don't get coverage. It just
Those are
shuts it
cell
down.
phone dead
That's
phones, but
cell
the
phone.
handheld radios still.
Yeah, the handheld radios in CHS have been much improved now. And again, in CHS specifically around public safety, prior to the work we completed this past summer, the fire could not go into the building and actually communicate.
Oh, yeah.
They can now
They can still
communicate.
get out. I think the art room, that art wing still doesn't have
Still-
radio.
Well, they do now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
with their radios they can.
Okay.
So, but anyway, point is that it's not just public safety using it, it's now the whole town is benefiting from it, so.
Anything else for John this evening? All right. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
All right, little jump in our order to, let's see, 4150.10 accounting. I'm messing up Miss Kleiner. Your
Yeah.
slide order.
Thank you.
4150.10
See
accounting.
if she's paying
There we
attention,
go.
that's all, right? He knew that you could roll with the punches. He's all-
We preset the order and then just move it last minute.
Yeah, so, Karen?
All right, so, in the wages, we have a decrease, cause we had an employee that moved, into the selectmen's budget. Same thing with health. Software support, we have, an increase, cause we are now doing cloud-based for payroll. And that's to support the New Hampshire retirement new reporting requirements. Seminars, cost of, conferences and workshops have increased. Mileage and tolls, we have an increase in rate and usage. And we will have a single audit, next year for the opera money that we've spent and, a new contract, so we have an increase in that as well.
Questions for accounting?
Where did you say that employee went?
Just under the selectmen's budget. So it looks like I'm wonderful.
Of course you are.
And okay, so that auditing contract, it's a 2-year contract.
Yeah,
I see
it's
that.
down at the bottom.
I got it, yeah, thank you.
That's a federal audit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, That's not
Anything spent over
that's not our usual one.
$750,000 of federal money,
So that was a requirement that came out of,
the opera.
funds.
Yeah.
questions for Karen with accounting? All right, we will move to, is there anything else, Karen, that you're specifically covering? Are you staying for the rest of the?
Yeah, I'm staying.
Okay,
Personnel? Is that you? No?
Yeah, I can do personnel.
if you're staying for the whole time, we'll just keep rolling.
Okay,
in
yeah,
order then.
yeah.
Let's go to 419130 zoning.
Zoning.
4191, yep. There you go.
So, with zoning, we worked with Mr. Blackwell on this budget, who consulted with, Chair Gandia. And there's some increases in the budget just based on what we expect to be increases on variances that will be needed because of plans that are coming forth. So, there's.
Then is that offset by like applications?
So yes, you'll see increased revenues.
Right, so
over on
I just, we see the
revenue side.
expenses here, there
Yes.
should be an offset somewhere.
But we needed to plan
Mhm.
for postage of noticing of
Right.
butters and, things of
Mhm.
that sort, because we expect that some of these projects will require variances at the zoning board.
Questions?
I'm looking at the zoning budget and it's flat from last year. You just said increases.
Yeah, it's level funded. But normally we would have decreased it and we kept it funded at its current level because of increases in variances that we expect. Sorry, I should have worded that better.
No, that's okay. Thank you.
Additional questions for zoning? All Alright, 419110, planning.
So, planning, we worked with Sheriff Frodo on this, because of the plans that have been coming forth, because of some regulatory changes to our MS4 permit, which, Kevin Brown and I work on with, a consultant. That's going to require some planning changes. We need to increase the hours of the planning assistant. So currently, right now, she's between 12 and 15 hours. At some point, I would recommend you're gonna get to the point where we need to look at if we have a full-time person that can maybe work on grants parts of the time or assist us with the MS4. But we said we're not there, let's try it by increasing the number of hours in next year's budget and then progress from there.
I guess the question would be, is this potentially the peak of the mountain because of the number of proposed projects? You know, between the gas station, a few housing items.
And pay for it.
Are we looking at this and saying, well, you know what, maybe we need to go full-time, but realistically it's gonna peak at this and we're not gonna have the same type of development? I mean, sooner or later, we run out of space.
So you really have two things going on, because you have, yes, some development and some projects that are gonna hit over the next few years, right? Because some are being phased in. But you have increased regulatory review and laws that have passed through the legislature that are really gonna require more staff time to devote to understanding these and being able to better assist the planning board and myself. So, you know, we handle, between Jeff Blackwell and Joan and I and NRPC, who does a tremendous job for the town, it takes a significant amount of our time just to keep up with the regulatory changes. And I don't see that slowing down. I see that ramping up, especially with all these initiatives over housing and this being a state priority.
What is is there a revenue source of the planning board for applications, things of that nature?
There's the permitting, but an
So in other words,
offset
let's pick
to-
on the gas station, right? Did the gas station have to pay anything to be able to propose their plan to the planning board?
Well, so they have escrows. They have escrow funds that help to pay for the engineering, the town engineer, and notices to abutters and things of that sort. Yes.
Okay.
But nothing.
Just don't see it in here.
Yeah, nothing.
No, that's fine. I'm
Yes.
just looking at it that
Yeah.
if there is going to be all of this additional need, then I'll make the same argument I made about the impact fees. Let's get ahead of it, increase those, so that way you have more funding to be able to handle the regulatory items of these additional projects. So in other words, if the gas station wants to propose being here, what can we do in order to then make sure that there is revenue coming in to help offset all of these paper cut costs that I'm going to have
Right.
around, well, I need another one of these people, I need more hours out of these people, I need more out of the national, the planning region, things like that. Like, what can we do to start planning before it's too late and all these big projects come through and they all go laughing to the bank and we're stuck with all that incremental cost that we then have to put onto the taxpayer? is there any way to extract more revenue now?
Raise the fees, right?
And so you could raise fees, on the planning board side, and, require more, like escrows for the costs associated with that. That's separate from impact fees.
Right.
But there's nothing that offsets the stormwater. Nothing. There's nothing that offsets that unless we get a grant like, highway, and I did this year, which is offsetting 25,000 of it. But other than that, that's all regulatory, and it's just expected, it's mandated. And talk about unfunded mandates, I mean, that's a large amount of time from our office and highway.
So who dictates the escrow? What department? Is it the planning board that dictates what the escrow needs to be? Is it the selectmen?
I think
Who makes that decision?
So the escrows,
think
I
you
think,
can use
the
that.
escrows are different. The escrows are, I think that's not a fee. The planning board picks their escrows. That's for engineering, for the engineer to go out and look at things. We pay it out of their account. To
It's more like
dictate the
direct debit.
revenues would be, I'm sorry, what?
A butter notices.
That's a revenue, about a notice. No. Is it?
No, that's a charge.
Yeah.
As far as revenue to offset what we're looking
do
at here,
have
it would be
Site plan
fees
review,
Right,
that planning
so,
board would have
like
to
a
charge,
site, yeah,
approved by the board of selectmen.
site plan
yes.
reviews.
So all fees charged would have to be, through the Board of Selectmen after a public hearing.
How long between the public hearing and they go into effect? Because I think you should notice it next week.
I mean,
So
if there's
we're
like, what's the matter with throwing a regulatory fee of $10,000 on there? And then at that point, you know what, it offsets the increase for this year, and it also it offsets at least next year. I mean, we need to do something besides the poor taxpayer to foot the bill for what goes on and development within the town.
So.
And if it means they go away, then they go away. But you know what? Our land is a premium. Somebody will want where those two tractor trailers have now, grown roots and live permanently off of, Charles Bancroft.
Yes, your development, I mean, my prediction is your development's not gonna stop. This isn't just a high point right now, because there are developers and there is money that's being fed by the state to developers to build. It's a huge
Right.
push. And
So
that's
just
what's
as
gonna happen.
colleges raise fees for students, because they know that the feds are gonna back the money.
That's right.
We know that there's a revenue stream, and people want to do it, we should make sure that the taxpayers themselves are insulated from the costs. Because the reality is, developments cost taxpayers money in the long run. They
Right.
raise everybody's taxes. So why should I have to pay the increased tax, and they have to pay for the fee to have them raise my taxes by paying for the engineering, the site fees, all the other stuff? That should go directly to the developer.
Carrie,
But
this
you
sounds
wanna
like
be
a conversation you
careful.
should bring up to the selectmen at their next meeting.
I'm just saying, like, if we're talking revenue sources.
It's the wrong place to have the conversation right now. It's like,
But you
yeah.
wanna be careful too, because
Why?
when you're increasing a building permit fee, you're hitting your taxpayers. You're
Yeah, you
hitting your
miss-
taxpayers too, because
A
they're
commercial.
coming in and they're filing for building permit fees.
Well, I think true, but the reality is, I've been talking about impact fees for 10 years. So if this is where we get people to talk about it, that's fine with me. But the reality is, there has to be a way to
But it's
structure.
only you talking about it. I'm saying, this is,
All right.
go in front of the select board.
No,
There is a fee, if there's a budget, there's a monetary impact. So yes, it is not inappropriate to discuss monetary impacts at the budget committee.
And part of the issue that Ms. Kleiner brought up was that we can expect that we need more admin hours for the planning department.
Then increase
but that's a salary, that's a position.
But if I know
And
that,
then
we could talk the logistics.
This is kind of what we're saying, is that part of the reason why, like, I think a good reason why impact fees have not been updated is that the volunteer planning board didn't really know to look at that, honestly, before the CIP started to come along. So if you have a planner, a full-time planner that can devote those hours to getting ahead of these problems instead of being constantly
Right.
reactionary, that's what it feels like on the planning board. We're constantly reacting to issues in town versus stepping ahead of them, because the hours that are currently allotted for planner is not even covering the site plan applications, never mind trying to improve things for the actual town. So, and that's not up in this budget, but that's where that fees are not going to cover going from a full-time to or a part-time to a full-time position. And I would expect that that would come up in the coming years, because of
There are
these
many
issues.
communities where the planner is also does grant writing. Many communities. Right now, I mean, we can't take Mr. Brown off the road to write a grant. We need him, you know, so it's either police might be able to find someone that has the time to do it, maybe fire does, or it's my office. There's no time. So eventually, your needs are gonna grow, just as your community is. I mean,
I guess
we
I would
can
get
raise
a grant is a lottery ticket. A fee I can control. And until I finally get a developer that pushes away from the table and says it's too expensive to develop in Litchfield, that's when you figure out that your fee is at the right point. Take it a couple $100 less than that, and boom, you got exactly where you need to be. And then, you know what? Just like this budget every year goes up, whether it's for the town or the school, that fee goes up every year as well. It's called inflation.
You're right, though, because when is the last time that building permit was increased?
There was talk
We've
about it.
looked at, so, Mr. Blackwell and I, Mr. Mellon, who was just here, and no one wants to talk about that fee increasing, but, we've had conversations on bringing forward to the, select board an overall, because the last thing you wanna do is, it's really bad policy to hit people multiple times. You wanna do a comprehensive plan on here's the cost, here's what it's risen, and you need to adjust all the fees.
Sure, but I think that there's gonna be a difference between I want to put a shed or a pool in my yard versus I'm developing an entire neighborhood.
Right. That's why you have a commercial building permit and you have a residential building permit, so that the poor person that just wants to put up a shed
Right.
can still afford it. It doesn't cost 3 times the amount of the materials and labor to get a shed in. But you know what? You want to put in a gas station? Pay up.
Yes, surprisingly, it needs a little, the fee schedule needs some work.
And that's all controlled by selectmen. Yes?
Yes, by statute, yeah.
Healthy discussion. Thank you, everybody, for your thoughts and input. Sounds like, I think if you have more ideas and suggestions around fee structures, let's talk to our select board. But thank you. Good conversation, healthy discussion. And I agree, as we're looking at more and more developers to come in, there's opportunities to increase our revenue as a town. Other questions on planning tonight? All right, let's move to 4130.10 Board of Selectmen.
So you'll see, there's a change from accounting that Ms. White just spoke of. The position that sits at the counter for the Board of Selectmen's office, we moved from accounting to the Board of Selectmen. That position does a wide variety of things, supports me, quite a bit, is now doing some permitting. So the hawkers and the peddlers and things that administratively we could kind of take off of the police, which was more of a drain to their resources, we've moved over to Donna. So since she is doing more Board of Selectmen work, we moved her in that budget.
Questions on Board of Selectmen?
So this is another one that, I guess in all of them, are they just placeholders, the insurance number that you have in here?
Yes, so that was moving that employee's health insurance as well. So when you move the salary, you'll move the
So is it the
benefits.
same as last year, or was there a 3%, 5%, 20% included? Like,
We don't have that yet.
Nothing.
so this is
Nothing.
flat from last
Flat.
year?
Yeah.
The insurance is currently flat
Yes,
across the board.
unless it's a census change,
Yeah.
meaning there's more lives.
Well, it's not flat though, right? Because this year is 29,000, next year it's 43,000.
That increases the move from the one that was under accounting. Yeah. Anything else on Board of Selectmen? All right, we already did tax, so next we have 415210 revaluation of property.
Oh, that's a fun one.
So fourth year of the 5-year contract, I believe the link to the contract is in the budget. 2025, you'll have a revaluation, and that amount is put into the expendable trust fund each year to offset that 5th-year cost.
It is a slight.
And this last year.
It is a slight increase because of the software, right?
Yes,
$192.
yes.
Questions on 415210? Okay. 4153 legal.
So this budget is a decrease. And that is a result of looking at settled case and reduced risk. We felt pretty comfortable in reducing the budget.
Questions on legal? $41.55 personnel.
Why don't you? Okay.
So the life insurance, we had to kind of disperse between a couple of different budgets, so we moved that all into one single place. Social Security went down for some people who had left, and changes in wages. Medicare went up a little bit, same thing, either people hired or changes in wages. Employee retirement only went up a little bit, if you remember last year, or this year actually, for July. It was, there was a change for the three, Group 1, Group 2, so employee, fire, and police. And I believe they were all decreases. And that's about it. So they were, because of the police and their contract, they had an increase in their retirement, but then a decrease for a change in their overtime, it was, right?
And so there was a large bill that sat in the House that would have increased Group 2 safety dramatically, and this went back and forth pretty much all summer, almost held up the state budget. But they put it to a study. They wouldn't know, it wouldn't pass. So they put it to a study, and I would expect that we will see the result of state retirement in the next cycle.
Questions on 4155 personnel?
So what's the unemployment tax increase of is it 2,200, or is that not? That's same as last year? No.
Yeah, we haven't gotten unemployment workers' comp or property liability yet.
Oh, so we don't even know anyway, gotcha. So it's another question mark.
What is the 20,000 for wage expense, non-union performance reviews? What is that for?
Increases.
That's that merit-based increase.
Yeah.
Merit, okay.
Which one is that, Mr. Chris?
This is line 20, so row 9.
It's that, as I understand, it's the
Unaffiliated.
pool of money that you guys use to provide annual raises to.
Okay, and that's new from last year. Looking at this budget, is that true?
No.
It's been there,
It's
in there
been
for a
in
few
It, was
years.
it budgeted elsewhere, maybe?
That's what I'm saying, I don't remember. the
I remember
history on this.
seeing it, no, I remember seeing it, I just don't know why, so I don't know why it's zeroed.
No, it's been in there.
Cause I remember the discussion every year, why is it 20,000, why isn't it 10, why isn't it 30,000? Cause I
I
think
think
at
it
one
was
point it was 30.
15 for a while, and it
Uh-uh.
got increased to 20 a
Yeah.
couple years ago.
It's just showing zero.
Cause it used to be
for
like,
actual expenses in 2021.
Yeah, because what happens is it hits your wages, because you can't,
Oh, it
you
moves
can't
it.
separate that. So when you see the expense, it's saying
It
nothing's
gets
spent,
reallocated.
but you'll see the overages in our wage lines.
Got it.
But I can
As
tell you,
well
I
as it will
tracked
hit
it.
Hampshire retirement and everything else.
I tracked it and it came out to a little over 18.
yeah, I think it used to be like 3%.
So I didn't understand if the 20 was actually enough or not. So we did, and it was a little over 18. That's what it came out to, and the board gave 3%.
Question on bullet point number 2, so it has there 503, 500, spend to date, trending favorable. Is it safe to say that that is consistent month over month, and can I take that 503, 500 and basically consider that to be 9 months and extract it out to 12? So in other words, when you say
I
favorable,
get what
where
you're
do you
saying.
expect it to fall from 841? Like if I do the math, based on what I just said, it's gonna come out to about 671. But is that not the right way to calculate it? What's the meat behind trending favorable? Where do you think it's gonna land?
Trending favorable, I think, because of the wages and the staffing that we have at the current time. So if we had the staff in place that the budget called for, I
Then you
think
would
we
be
would,
at
we would come in right in line.
Okay.
But you have so many unfilled positions
Right.
and,
So it's very similar to
Contractors,
the
like-
school.
right,
Mr. Cutter has to outline in terms of, okay, yes, this came in under, but that's because we're running short-staffed by X number of positions. Any idea as to just a total number of positions that you're short-staffed that makes that trending favorable? Are we talking less 5 employees, less 10 employees? Like, about what number
less,
are we at?
yeah, less 10,
Okay, so it's a
I
sizable.
would say
6 or
about, yeah, it's about 6,
6? Okay.
yeah.
So do you know
But
what
if you count the ins, you gotta look at that throughout the year, right? Because you have the ins and the outs, so you might have saved money for 3 or 4 months ago, hired that position. Hopefully that position might have come in at a lower cost, right? And you see savings that way as well. So as some of our officers or some of our staff that had years left, generally see some savings.
So do you know what the projected savings at this point would be?
So back I think at the end of the budget cycle, we were asked a question about police and fire, and we kind of did some estimates. I'm working on that same update, and that will kind of give us some idea. But I've asked police and fire to give me some information so that we can redo that exercise for you.
Well, it sounds like it's gonna be a significant amount of money, you know, not as much as the school, but I mean, same thing, you're shorthanded, so.
Relation. It's, there's,
Right.
I bet you if we asked Andrew, he'd probably say that, his number is probably somewhere in between, around 25 probably, and if hers is 6 against let's call it a $7 or $8 million budget, and his budget is 23, 25.
I'd say 20, just for the record.
Okay.
Yeah. That's a little low ball, but yeah.
Right.
But,
So where's that money gonna go?
Steve Perry is gonna get his voting machines.
Hopefully, voting machines.
That's where it's gonna
Maybe I'll
go.
get a monitor.
Never know what the snow might bring.
Additional
Yeah.
questions for personnel tonight?
Nothing related to the town, but just to finish that thought on the school side, right? You'll note that in years past, we've done attrition cuts for that very reason.
Right.
All right, if nothing else for personnel, let's move to 419410 general government building.
So, general government buildings, I don't know if I mentioned this before, the former custodian retired. We now have a contractor. So there's a decrease in the custodial line and he is working, he's also in the Parks and Rec, budget. He works between here and Parks, Talent Hall. So that was just a savings. There's the increase in electric, because when we talked about the animal control budget, we said we moved the cost of the electric, from the animal control line to the general government. We are shutting down that building as far as water and electric to what the bare minimum, while it's not in use, and Mr. Mullen at the transfer station is monitoring that for us. But while it's not housing any animals, we're trying to keep the cost to a bare minimum. There's an increase in the building maintenance, and somewhat this is based on trend, but there's more trend this year. So this year we faced a number of repairs, not only to our HVAC, but we also had to replace a hot water heater. On the town side, we expect we'll need to replace one. On the PD side as well. It's just the age of the building and the age of the systems. So that's why we increased that line item. We expect to see more costs than we have in the past. The increase in gasoline is restoring the cuts that were made last year. Based on trend, we're gonna be high on that line. And we're forecasting according to the 2024 energy and gasoline rates that we've provided to you. Custodial, and I don't know, you've probably seen this, every single budget that has come to you that has mentioned custodial has said there's an increase in costs. It's across every single budget. The cost of custodial supplies has just really taken a jump. Everything from the trash bags to the Lysol to everything. So as budgets were coming in earlier this year, I kept seeing the trend, and there's nothing we can do. Then we put $1,000 into the furniture line because these chairs behind us, there's a number of them that are really no longer safe. So we've had to do some initial work, and our contracted custodian has kind of reinforced the bottoms of them, but they are meeting their natural life. And like planning board the other night, we didn't even have enough chairs, so if we have chairs that have to be taken out of commission, we will not have enough for our public.
Sounds like an excellent use for your end of year funds.
We're all checking the chairs we're sitting in at the moment.
Waiting for one to fall now.
These are structured
Those are
differently
fine.
than those.
It's these.
Those are the stacking ones.
That
Good luck
one over
stacking
there.
those.
Yeah, they're in rough shape. But there is a building surplus store that commonly has things that are bought from businesses that have gone out. We'll find something very economical. You won't find new leather chairs.
Oh, no.
Questions on general government building?
Yeah, question, I'm sorry.
Go ahead,
Somebody-
go ahead. It might be the same as mine. so-
That I get deferred to? Ooh, I feel special tonight. Just based on, last year when we scratched the surface as far as the school and where they were getting their energy forecast from, how many sources are you getting as far as, any of the gasoline, electric, water for forecasted prices? Because as soon as we asked one question, it folded like a house of cards that it was a overestimate that they were getting from a consultant. Is there?
So there's not a consultant. The Municipal Managers Association works, and that's all of us throughout the state. We work and we share resources. We also work with NHMA, who gets costs, and NRPC, who gets costs. So, like, one of the new references that we got this year was the municipal cost index, right? So they're constantly feeding us new resources so that we can look at it across the board. The other great thing that has come up is the Energy Committee. So the Energy Committee has been actually chartered by the board to start looking at energy costs as well. And we have a consultant that's working with us on the community power. So this has really become, utility costs in general, water included, has really become a focus of the board.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Keep that water cost down.
Oh, good lord, seriously.
So a couple of questions as far as going back to gasoline. I know, do you know what you're paying right now?
Well, it's between two. I have to look back in the budget. There's a tab there that will show you. It's, yeah.
What we're paying?
It was 340 a few weeks ago, and it kind of goes up and down and hovers around.
And that's without,
I paid
For the regular
340 with the
gasoline,
tax.
which is,
Just
not
what's going
the
up.
same as fire or diesel.
right, but my understanding, because I know we talk about this every year, you don't pay taxes, correct, for gas?
Well, they do on the fire, which is so it's odd. The diesel they do,
Right, and we're
but
talking.
not the regular gasoline.
Right, so you're
Right.
paying more than what I pay right now for gas.
But we have delivery, so, right, so this is gasoline that's delivered. These aren't, so you do have a higher cost. I suppose we could send trucks down to
But
Hafner's,
we don't send our cruisers down to like,
no,
okay.
no.
'Cause I feel like I see them in Hudson a lot, I assume.
Right, but
they're like-
you,
No, I hope not.
No, I mean, sure, they're doing something official, but.
so how much tax do you save on a gallon?
Oh, it's,
28 cents, 23
yeah,
cents.
it hovers right around, I was gonna say 20, but I'll get you a definite
Okay,
Look, there's state
number,
and
but it
federal.
changes just slightly.
so
but
it costs you
somewhere around there.
costs you the difference of tax for delivery, basically. And you know where you're trending right
But
now?
you have to remember, for having it delivered to the highway department, and we have a accurate system of tracking how many gallons. I mean, the police department can tell you how many gallons.
So when that gas
They-
station goes in, can you be like the UPS trucks that go right across the street to the gas station and just go right to that gas station?
And take out our highway tank?
So,
Oh, I'm sorry, I don't.
we have an
Put all the-
underground tank
send all the
that we
cruisers
deliver
down.
to?
You'd be paying
We have a
tax.
They'd have to
gasoline
pay the
tank.
tax,
You'd be
wouldn't they?
paying
Yeah.
tax on that.
So, so we get it
I don't know how
delivered
it'd
to an
work.
underground
The gas
tank.
station would still
We
have
have
to
a
charge
gas
the
tank.
tax.
Yeah, so I
They
guess
can't-
I
But
don't
can we get
understand why
reimbursed
we're
from the
paying
government?
retail when,
How do they prove it,
'cause
though?
You just
Well,
use
at
it.
least where the way it
like
works
one
where I grew up,
type
like
of
even the
credit
bus
card.
station has their own tank and they charge like 10 cents to whatever, cause it's the cost of the gas.
But-
Like,
Or you
even,
must get some kind
it
of,
sounds like we're getting robbed.
you must get some
here.
kind of deal. You must get some
we all
kind of
know
deal,
what
cause you get
that's
UPS trucks, they all
So
go
you
to the
think,
same gas station.
how many gallons does our underground tank hold?
Isn't it a
Oh, I
500
don't
gallon
know.
tank? I think
Is
it's a
it?
small
I'll
tank.
ask him.
Because
I
if
don't
you
think it's that large, because they have to deliver
once,
quite
yeah,
often,
once
yeah.
every week and a half, yeah.
Yeah.
It just seems like that's a really high delivery fee.
But the efficiency of it is, they're right there, right? So they need to go out at 2 a.m. to salt the roads. They're gassing the truck right there. They're throwing the salt in the truck. If all those trucks have to go over to Hudson or even down to, the tip of Manchester to gas up, that's time back and forth, gas back and forth. And when you're talking about getting salt or roads plowed,
No,
that's,
I appreciate that. It just seems like we're paying retail as opposed to like a wholesale price. Like we should be leveraging the amount we purchase, because if I'm paying an additional $15,000 a year for convenience,
Sounds like
that's money that I could be spending on something else.
Sounds like a way to offset that would be a larger tank, which would have a bigger overhead cost up front.
Yeah, fewer deliveries, yeah.
Right.
It just seems like
so
there
there's
should be a
room for
way.
bigger tank there.
Well, it just seems like there should be a way to somehow squeeze some money out of that line.
Well,
So
we'll
you're-
find out what the delivery is and,
Yeah, we get a couple of invoices that will help understand the delivery charge.
yeah, I don't, that's not the last one, right? Cause I think it came down. But there's a backup behind that?
No, no.
Okay,
it's
yeah,
just-
we need to, I'll find out what the tank is, how often we're delivered, and what the difference in the retail rate versus the rate we're paying in the delivery charge.
Yeah, because I just think that they have to deliver to, say, whatever place station is selling me gas, and that guy's taking a profit, and the state's taking their profit, and apparently I'm still paying less. So to me, somehow we're paying a premium of a premium. So-
Dennis Burke is still delivering?
Yeah.
Have you tried negotiating with him? You're good at negotiating.
I guess that's the thing, like, how long are
No,
we,
I haven't, sir, no.
Maybe that's something that we could, take a look at.
Okay.
how long are we still under contract, and when's the last time we threw it out there? Shot across the bow, we're putting it out to bid.
Is it a contract?
Is it
I don't think
a
so.
contract?
I don't know.
I don't think it is. I haven't seen a contract come through.
Okay,
So there's question number 1. Good question.
yep, and then RFP.
Squeeze them.
There we go.
Anything else on general government building tonight? All right, 4195 cemeteries.
Speaking of RFPs, so currently there is an RFP out for the maintenance of the cemeteries. And there's a number of us that are looking at that RFP because we kind of want to get a general gauge on what the cost of landscaping and groundskeeping is. So those quotes were due the 2nd. They're being opened at a public meeting next Wednesday the 11th. And then we are gonna look at them and see if there's opportunity there that maybe they're reasonable, or do we need to look at bringing this in-house and making it reasonable? But the cost of groundskeeping has been rising. So we put the increase into the budget, but I don't want you to think that that's the final.
It could be more based on what you see from the RFP, or it could be less. Is there an opportunity here to consolidate any of that with Parks and Rec?
There's, I think, an opportunity to consolidate that with the highway department.
Maybe the Parks and Rec can then borrow people. Do the fields. As they mow sidewalk, the strip of land, they can hit the fields on the way.
Yeah, for them mowing the pickled,
Questions on cemeteries?
Is the current vendor doing a good job?
Current vendor is doing a great job, but there is a lot of work, so I'd like to give
that's
Mr. Brown and
anything,
his group round of applause. There's a lot of bittersweet that has taken over some of the stones. And so that would really have been outside the contractor's scope. So Kevin Brown and his group went down and spent 2 or 3 days and really cleaned that all up. So we're trying to take advantage of staff when we can to lower costs.
I know
Of
groups
outside
who need
contractors.
conservation hours, and that kind of thing fits right into conservation hours. We should talk.
Okay, anytime.
Yeah, no, I have a group of kids who need conservation hours. Bittersweet at the camp versus bittersweet in town might be a little easier to do.
Well, and so we have tons of opportunities that pop up.
Yep.
I mean, we get calls, all the highway gets calls all the time, to help. So there's actually, we're going out to, Dara to do some work there. But, yeah, Kevin Brown does an excellent job of managing his staff's time. Excellent job.
Anything else for cemeteries this evening? Okay. 4196 insurance.
Well, this one's an easy one, right? TBD.
Why don't we just, that looks much better than
What you
what I
expect?
think it might be.
We'll come back to that one. 4197. You didn't. Nothing else you wanted to add right now, Ms. Kleiner,
TBD.
on that one.
No.
Okay. 419710 advertising.
One increase NRPC dues.
Questions on advertising?
Well, I just find it weird that our dues are in like advertising.
It's odd
Bizarre.
title, yes. And here's,
Okay. 431630 street lighting.
so here is one utility, success story, right? I mean, this is, we're still seeing decreases in costs on the LED conversion that the town did, so that's one success story.
Even bigger next year now that gazebo's out.
But we'll put the Veterans Park in.
Solar lights.
Is that
Yes.
gonna,
I requested to have a spotlight pointed right at your house. Solar powered.
Yeah, like flashing, like a blinking light.
That will be a beautiful project, and those, lights, I can tell you, you will not see, like the gazebo lights.
Or just give them a clicker so you can turn them off in the middle of the night.
Questions?
So Andrew, does this mean that we'll see in the CHS budget that we'll see a continued downturn due to savings from the LED conversion project?
Hope so.
All right.
No, okay, we spent somewhere else.
But I do think that you should look, so Wednesday night at the select board, they'll be talking about community power. And that's a great project.
Should be based on like when I go to log in and say, what are the rates? I'm like, man, if I were in this town, that'd be a great rate. Or if I was in this town, that'd be much better than what I'm looking at right now.
Probably community power.
Yeah, no, I know. I was like, for residents of, no, not me.
Anything else on street lighting this evening?
did you say that we might be looking at replacing like building lights too at some point?
Yes, so that is one of the items that we brought to the energy committee, to look at, because, so none of these are working, except that one.
I just thought they were off. Okay.
No, they don't work.
Involuntarily.
We have lights like that throughout the building. So we were looking at having those switched to LED, and we got a vendor working with a state grant for the town side of the building. After the grant, it was about $5,300 to have them over.
wow.
So we asked him to come back and do the, give us a quote on the police side as well, so that we can do it all. We'll have the energy committee look through the quotes, make sure that we're getting the best bang for our buck, and, that's one of the things that we'd like to have done.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right, last one this evening, 472310 debt.
One line, 35,000 was moved from,
Getting there.
by the selectmen to impact fees.
If I remember correctly, though, we robbed from this one to pay for, which warrant article was it last year?
Health agencies.
No,
No, it
fire
was,
department.
yes, the weekend fire coverage.
Oh,
So,
We said we'd steal again every year to cover it.
They're proactively doing that.
okay, so that 35,000 is to backfill what we reduced in that budget line item last year in order to get the weekend coverage? Okay.
I didn't
Gotcha.
realize that was a weekend coverage.
Yep.
Yes.
It was one of those.
It was, yeah, I think.
Brian's right,
there
it
were-
was the weekend coverage, because there was one that we
So we'd remember. for the
really,
next-
really wanted,
Yeah,
and begrudgingly I said, well, can we
Yeah.
take from this one?
so then it hits us the following year,
Right,
so
but it's
now we've
impact
done it
fees.
again.
Okay, and then if I remember correctly from last week, we got one more year that we'll be able to put impact fees towards fire again, and then it'll come back up, because then we'll have exhausted that fund.
I don't think there's that much left.
Yeah, right now, I think we have about 36 in that fund,
So this will drain the remaining 36.
pretty much, yeah.
Okay,
Until
so we have to
start
pay the
collecting. Though
piper
we
in
did just
2025.
collect two, but, yeah, there's not much
Not much.
in
Okay.
there at all.
But, yeah, we'd have to look at the new study. The new,
If with all the development in town, we might even be able to replenish that fund.
But I thought
within
that
15.
because then you're replenishing the fund with impact fees that have been
Oh, that come in
collected
after.
after the
Right.
building was built, now you can't. That is building up for the next capital project for fire. Cause like, if you build a
Yeah,
fire
that makes
station in
sense.
2010 and you collect a fee in 2015, you can't take the 2015 money and put it backdated to 2010.
Correct.
But everything leading up to 2010, that I can exhaust
Right.
on that
That's what we
building,
talked about
correct?
at the last meeting, 'cause
Right.
that's why I was getting
Yep.
confused.
Okay.
yeah.
And how many more years do we have on the fire lease?
15.
Okay.
Who's counting?
But there should be,
It was only 5 years.
some
Yeah, so
part of that, because you're still paying for that.
Really?
For what?
So I wanna go back and look at Jay's study, cause
I
there
thought
should
it
be
was
some part.
you could pay some loans
That's
because
right.
they didn't just build the fire
it for the future,
station
right?
to
That's right.
Future.
Right.
yeah, they built it for the next 30,
But that's why,
50
that's what I asked
years.
last week, and we got a
Right.
different answer.
I think we need to look at it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we need to.
Well, it's a
look at
2025
impact fee.
Because then
Yes.
we got 35,000 that we know we have in hand.
isn't changing
And-
for this budget.
Yeah.
Right.
If anyone is interested, what we can do is the draft impact fee, that's going through the planning board and the board of selectmen, we can send that over so that you can look at it and understand
Suggest a multiplier?
where that's coming.
It comes from the CIP, so
do.
multiply
Yeah.
it there.
I'm happy to multiply it there times 3. Perfect.
Any questions around debt?
Oh, yes.
Any additional questions?
Just one from Ms. Kleiner. At our last week's meeting, there was the conversation about Mr. Taylor's favorite topic, hydrants.
Oh,
Right.
come on. 2 weeks in a row.
It's not even 9 o'clock yet.
There was a question about the new developments, and if those hydrants, in the counts of those hydrants are in the budget or not. I don't know if we had an opportunity to take a look at that or not.
Yeah, do you want the answer?
I do.
Yeah, no.
They're not in the budget. As it's So,
Oh.
the question
Oh.
is how many should we plan on to add into the budget?
So, I specifically asked, Penachuk, it's not until a plan is approved approved and the actual development is sent and those hydrants are planned for, that they would be worked into the rates that
Okay.
he gives me.
So it'd be next year's budget then.
So it would. So that means there's gonna be another increase, and that could be substantial, depending on how many hydrants are put.
We have an estimate of how many hydrants are coming online with these developments.
No, but I'm sure the planning
Yeah, we can
board
find
could give us some.
It's
Yeah.
not those ones like hook into Manchester? They have to come from Manchester?
Right?
There, right?
Merrimack.
No, it's not like, not, no joke, seriously, it literally is right up there.
Talking
We
about- talking
have,
about the horse
we
farm?
already have one hydrant in Manchester. We're gonna outsource to them.
So they start charging once they have the plan, before they're even put in place?
No, so if you look on the hydrant, list that I have, he said proposed were like 28, I think, and that's what brought up the question. Those aren't in yet either. They're not really in the cost yet either, but was letting us know that they were coming.
Yeah, and it's 1,700 a hydrant per year. I mean, that's,
Well,
Right.
that's where we have the
So
opportunity
they're
possibly to.
projected to come online in 2024.
Right, so,
He does not have the projected for, you know, Dairy Road or
yeah,
the.
yeah.
I would just ask that we confirm with the fire department what's actually required, because I believe there was discussion that with the hydrant system and with our new trucks, that we could double the distance from 50.
500 versus.
Yeah, 500 versus 1,000, so as we do these developments, as the taxpayer who has to pick up a good chunk of the fee, I'd rather do the 1,000-foot spacing as opposed to the 500-foot spacing. So if that's something we could take a look at.
I would be happy to have the fire chief come in and speak to you about why they put the hydrants where they put them. I had the discussion.
Alright.
and
So
I
are
think
those
he can
based on
speak
the
to it
500
much better
foot?
than I can.
So those are based on the 500-foot as opposed to the 1,000?
That is correct.
Alright, well,
Well, as a
yes,
tax-
I would love to hear the reasoning after we had a discussion about how we could expand the spacing.
As a taxpayer, yeah, you're paying for the fire hydrants, but at the same time, they're gonna be paying taxes, which will go towards the town.
Oh, really? Because I'm pretty
Yes.
sure they just offset their assessment significantly, so they don't pay as much as they used to.
Wasn't so much the water utilities as it was the electric.
And considering that it's 1,700.
I'm referring,
Thank you. You know what I just heard? 2 weeks of hydrants, and now there's gonna be a third meeting all about hydrants.
Or just send an
We
email.
weren't gonna meet next week, but now we're gonna talk
Or
about
send
hydrants.
an email and explain it, because there was a discussion that we had at one of the CIP meetings about how we could go to 1,000 feet. And since we're talking $1,700 a pop, I'd like to know why I have to pay.
it's pretty certain the fire chief had already explained that to us.
He's,
He did last
He
week.
did.
Yeah,
We-
500
I asked,
feet?
yeah, we asked the question last week.
And Gary, I was referring to the people who are gonna be living in those new, they're gonna be paying taxes.
okay, so we can do an analysis of how much taxes are generated by the new developments versus how much in services they do. And then we could talk about the net positive or negative that we see from that, and how much I will actually be
You,
contributing
you
toward.
work on that.
I already know what it is. It's gonna cost me money.
Anything else from Miss Kleiner or Miss White tonight?
But you know what? Consider how many dogs are in town, can imagine how many dogs are gonna be there, and look at the cost of the license we're gonna recoup.
It's like $10.
Wow.
One hydrant for every dog.
All I need is
Bob, you're killing me. Now you just doubled the hydrant.
That's almost where we are.
because either way I'm losing in this.
1,710.
Instead of adopt the highway, adopt the hydrant.
Adopt the hydrant.
So sure, for those in favor of development, that's fine. For those of us who don't want to pay for it,
Oh, man. All right.
Mr. Son and I do not have a hydrant within 3/4 of a mile of our properties, but we still pay the tax. So,
It's true. Thank you.
You have the river.
Oh, now you feel safer tonight, right?
You have a river in your backyard.
you have a
no.
river.
I don't have that.
I do.
All right. Thank you, ladies. Much
You're welcome.
appreciated.
house is down
Before
before anybody gets
before
there.
they leave real quick and we transition to the rest of our meeting, I do quickly, so we can respect their time. We currently do have a meeting plan for next week. The goal is to try to get through all of these over the course of 2 weeks. We've done that. Is the consensus of the group that we not meet next week, which which gives them time to respond to any outstanding questions that we have, us to come up with any additional questions. We can certainly submit those electronically, and then the plan would be then on the 19th, we would start our voting process. Is everybody comfortable with that?
Yes.
Yes. Great. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Can I ask a question?
Thanks,
While you're
Karen.
still
Thank
here,
you.
because I don't know if Bob will have the answer or not. Do you know when the fence at Innis is going back up?
I didn't know it came down, so I have no
Yeah,
idea.
when,
No, thank you. So Karen has to tell me, cause I
Oh,
only
the
know
soccer
certain
field,
terms,
that's
right?
Eversource, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, we are still waiting on their real estate part to work on the easement. I did contact them yesterday, cause
Brickyard,
another resident
the
asked me.
soccer fields, they
Um,
run them.
And
Speech on
before
the
Eversource, you know, as
Oh, I didn't
large
know
a
that.
company
That's the
as
whole
this
thing.
is, before they release the check, it has to go through all these different lawyers up there.
was that all?
They said about 2 weeks.
Okay. I thought that was all discussed like prior to the
That's
project,
one
because
of
they
the-
knew they were gonna be replacing
Yeah, it goes-
the part of the fence.
So we went back and forth with them, and they were not going to replace as much fence as we felt needed to be replaced.
Yep.
So we worked on a deal where we got the cost of the fence and we gave them a joint use agreement to access the inside that fence.
Yep.
And that's what we're waiting for. I think the board signed it, or we approved it a good month and a half ago. And we're just waiting for Eversource to do whatever their many lawyers have to do. Cut us the check for the fence. And it will replace that whole side.
Oh, they are gonna replace the whole side.
Yes, that's what we wanted.
Yeah.
We felt if you pieced it together, it just would not look right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night, ladies. Thank you. Moving back to the rest of our agenda, Mr. Leary, any additional updates since we met last week?
Monday meeting is moved to Wednesday. Tuesday night, we're doing a forum on interviews for the new police chief. So we're down to the finalists, and, I think that's about it.
Great. Any additional questions for Mr. Leary tonight? Mr.
And we
Cutter.
have a retirement, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Retirement in police.
Mr. Savage,
Sergeant-
or
Sergeant
Detective
Savage.
Sergeant Savage?
Yeah,
Is that
yeah, Savage is retiring, yeah.
That's so sad.
Yep.
his last day?
We wish you the best.
Yes.
There's an event.
Thank
Did
you
say
for
there's
all
an
your
event tomorrow?
service.
Twenty-something years.
Yes.
He's
I was just
amazing.
asking if tomorrow was his last day.
Fire parade Friday night, you'll see everybody going by.
Yes,
For some
we
reason I
will.
thought that was tonight. Like, I was like,
Mr. Cutter, updates from the school?
School board met last night, no material updates to share at the budget committee, the next financial report, getting back to kind of the regular cycle of our second meeting of the month. Our second meeting is October 18th, so
We'll have that when we meet next time.
you'll certainly have that by the time we meet next time.
Questions for Mr. Cutter? Okay. Member input, new business, school facilities. Brian, any updates from last
Yep,
week?
well,
We haven't met.
Meetings.
Carrie, capital improvement.
So we met, was it earlier, this month, was it the second?
Monday.
It was Monday.
Oh my goodness, it's been a long week. So yes, we met Monday, we started going through, we were working through the prioritization of the requests. There's some tweaks that need to be made to some of the numbers. Plan to reconvene on the 16th, I believe it is, to finalize the prioritization. I believe there's discussion about notices that need to be done in the process in order to get it finalized and moved on to the Board of Selectmen. So it's a work in progress, we're making steady progress. Go team.
Is that so? Are you expecting to approve it?
Well, there's supposed to, there were some requests, updated number requests that were put in there. So I believe the plan is to run through that and potentially vote on it. I mean, I can't vote, so it's,
Yes, so all of the reviews for all town and school asks were prioritized at Monday's meeting. Now, with the support of NRPC, we're gonna go through and look at the total projections per year across the 6 years, and then make adjustments based upon how that lands.
Yeah.
That will be the scope of our meeting
On
on
the
October 16th.
Yes.
And do you think that would be
The
then
goal.
ready to send to the Board of Selectmen?
There was a discussion about meeting with the next group shortly thereafter, after that meeting, so I believe the expectation is that coming out of that meeting, we'll be ready for the next phase.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
we're-
just the time to put together, some
The
presentation
presentation,
materials.
some slide deck,
Yeah.
whatever they need to do.
We're on the edge of our seats waiting to update the impact fees. So, faster the better.
All right. Energy Committee, that is me, and I was yet again unable to attend. I shared with Ms. Kleiner that I really built my work schedule this fall around these meetings before I was volunteered for Energy Committee. So if there's anyone else, I'll throw this out there again, if there's anyone else that's willing to give up a Wednesday evening for the Energy Committee, going once, going twice, I'll continue to do my best to try to make those meetings. Ms. Kleiner does a good job of keeping me informed when I miss with some summary emails that I read. But I will continue to be that person and be there when I can.
Much appreciated.
All right, with that, I will open it up for public input, seeing that everyone has left us this evening except for Sean. I will close public input. Just a reminder, we will not meet on the 12th, and our next meeting will be Thursday, October 19th, where we will start voting on the town budget.
Excellent.
With that, entertain a motion to adjourn.
So made.
Motion by Ms.
Second.
Douglas, second by Ms. Stevens. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, motion carries 9-0-0. Have a great evening, everyone.